Welcome to the Virtustream session. My name is Craig Steele. I'm General Manager of Global Alliances at Pivotal, and I have responsibility for the partnership between Pivotal and Dell Technologies family of companies, including Virtustream, our wonderful sponsor for this event. We appreciate you guys making the investment, and we appreciate the partnership. This is Virtustream's presentation, but as Pivotal, obviously, we've entered into an agreement to co-deliver managed services from a PCF perspective to our joint customers. We're building out obviously the scalability of the platform to support that, and obviously important that we have the contractual and paperwork piece of this to make it simple for our customers to transact business with us. We're getting pretty far down the path there, and I just wanted to say a few words, and you can kind of throw up this.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, look at you, faster than me. Go back again. So you've heard all this information about Pivotal before. We're having tremendous success thanks to many customers that are here and sort of sharing their stories with you. I think it's super impactful for me. I've enjoyed listening to it, seeing the progress developers are making, and just iterative speed, iterative velocity, continuous integration, continuous delivery of applications. And it's working for them in terms of changing the way they build and deploy software and making business outcomes happen faster within their organizations. And so the partnership that we have here with Virtustream is really to support and enable customers expanding that to an off-premises solution or perhaps even an on-premises managed services offering, right? I was just in a meeting with an analyst, I think it was IDC, yeah, and I was talking to them about sort of the history of our business. And I've been in this for a while now, and I remember talking to analysts 9-10 years ago telling me Amazon's going to take over the world, and customers will only deploy in cloud. And all these very opinionated statements about what customers were going to go and do. And what we've noticed is when we sell our services and our software to customers, many of them do still deploy on-prem, a great percentage of them. What they do want is choice, right? They want to be able to make decisions about where workloads go based on, simple metrics like cost or service level agreements or security, corporate governance, regulatory requirements, those sort of things. And so that's why we feel like the partnership with Virtustream is so unique and valuable. We want to make this the easy button within the Dell technology ecosystem of strategically aligned businesses. That's a mouthful. But we want to keep the options open for our customers to deploy Pivotal Cloud Foundry, Pivotal Container Services, wherever they want and use it however they'd like to use it. And we just feel like we extend that opportunity when we work with Virtustream. So big thanks to you all again for investing in the sponsorship here, and we look forward to doing a great bit of business with you with our mutual customers.
All right, thank you very much, Craig. All right, welcome. Well, first of all, you're looking at a very happy man at this moment because about 15 minutes ago, my team, Feyenoord, won from Napoli in the Champions League. So I cannot be more happier than that. So, not what we're talking about, by the way, soccer, or as we call it in Europe, football. My name is Büüren van Heijst. I work for Virtustream. And we're going to talk about PCF and PCF managed services. So what we're seeing, and this is a report from the Cloud Foundry Foundation about container usage. And what we've been seeing over the last years is that container usage has been growing over the last couple of years. And more companies are starting to use containers also in production, right? Now, they started using, when they started using platforms like Cloud Foundry and containers, when they started using that, they started off with, say, the customer experience apps, the smaller apps, which are very much customer facing. They're having a lot of success with it, and what we're seeing is that more and more customers are trying to extend that into their system of record. So their CRM applications, their SAP applications, they're really they're really core applications in their companies. And with that criticality being higher, right? It's also more important for them that those applications run well. So looking at a PCF environment, right? You need a couple of things to run it. So you have your hardware, which you need to set up. You have the software, which you need to set up. Although it's a very, a PCF is a very hands-off kind of thing, you still need to do tons of things around it, right? You need to make sure that you patch it. You need to make sure that you upgrade it. You need to make sure that your hardware, is replaced. Upgrade the infrastructure. You need to make sure that your routing is okay. So there are tons of things that you need to manage in the platform. And being a company, and lots of companies, have basically two problems or two challenges with that. One is that they're actually do not want to do that anymore because they want to spend their time on developing functionality on their applications and don't want to spend their time on doing these internal things. The other thing is that it's very hard to get the knowledge nowadays for these people. I mean, we're recruiting as crazy, and I've been to a couple of sessions here, and almost every session ends with we have a booth, we're recruiting, so if you have anybody, please come tell. So it's very hard to get the knowledge, basically, to manage these kind of platforms. So what we've done together with Pivotal is we've created something called the Pivotal Cloud Foundry service. And the Pivotal Cloud Foundry service basically takes care of all the things that you need to run a Cloud Foundry platform, which means that we take over the operations part, and the client actually only needs to take over the apps part. So we basically take away the headache of having to manage that platform, having to recruit people, train people, and do everything around that. So how does it work? Well, it's a fully managed service. So it's a fully managed service with 24/7 support. We're monitoring it. There's incident report. We actually have a joint agreement with Pivotal that if you have an issue, you can either call Pivotal or us, and we'll, if it's an issue which is with us, Pivotal will call us, and the other way around. So it's fully vetted that way. It's of course the Pivotal Cloud Foundry platform, so it's not Cloud Foundry, but it's Pivotal Cloud Foundry, because we believe that's the best. That's basically the best platform to run your cloud native apps on. It's based on enterprise class infrastructure, which means Virtustream has a pedigree in running enterprise critical systems on cloud. I mean, we basically started by providing cloud infrastructures to companies with very big SAP landscapes. So we manage very big SAP landscapes in a cloud for our customers. Now, to do that and to run these kind of services, we need to make sure that we can, for instance, help customers certify in their compliance requirements. We need to be sure that that there's a resilience within the cloud. So basically, we've architected the solution, our cloud solutions, a little bit differently than the traditional cloud provider. That same kind of architecture, which makes sure that you have that enterprise-grade experience, we've architected within the PCF. It's a very cost-efficient way of doing this, because we don't measure by VM, which you actually deploy. We measure by something which we call micro VM, and I'll tell a little bit more about that a little bit later on. But basically, it eliminates any over-provisioning that you do. We actually build based on what you really use within these solutions. And very importantly, we support on-prem and off-prem services. So we can either take it from our cloud, or you can do it on your own premises, or maybe do a mixed model, right, where you have test and dev on one side and then production on your other side. So we actually, as Greg said, we try to offer choice here, right, so that the client can actually make the right choice for him in that. So what do we deliver? So we deliver a dedicated PCF instance for customers. So nothing's shared. You get your own PCF instance in which you can start developing. We actually make sure that it's hosted on enterprise class on that enterprise class infrastructure. We make sure that it's safe. We do things like virus scanning, things like intrusion detection, stuff like that is basically standard in offering, and we can even go a little bit further if you want to. We can actually do things like how do you say that? I think it's things like intrusion detection to make it more to make it even more secure. And the other thing that you do is we work with you to make sure that you get the right kind of compliancy, right? A lot of our customers have things like PCI, which you need to be compliant on, things like NIST, things like Visma, things like VetRamp, all these kind of systems. Bless you. All these kind of systems are important for our clients, and if you make a choice for a cloud provider, right, most of the times it's very difficult to get the data to get your compliancy. So most of the time we don't get the compliancy. The customer is still responsible for that compliancy, right? But you need to have the data to make that compliancy. So we will work with you to make sure that that application is compliant. So as I said, so it's a fully managed service. We make sure for all the patching, upgrades, deployment, capacity management, and scaling. So now we do that, of course, in cooperation with the client, which means that we need to we take our client, we make sure that they come into that we link into the ITIL processes and make sure that everything is aligned. We have two support models. We have an 8x5 and we have a 24 by 7. It's on and off premise, and we actually deliver a guaranteed SLA. So we deliver I think it's 4.9 SLA on availability of the service, and we make hard commitments on that. One of the things which is really important within a PCF platform, of course, are the services. So you need to be, you need to have the backing services there. So as standard, we support MySQL, Redis, cloud services, and RabbitMQ. Now we are working on extending that because we're aware of that more and more services are being used in these platforms. So we're building this out, and we'll work with our clients to make sure that the right services are on the platform to basically to support the application that you want to run. Now, again, this is a part about the micro VM, right? I mean, if you look to a standard public cloud model, right, you just order a VM and you pay for that VM, no matter how much you use it, right? Which means that most of the time when an application is either doing nothing or is in a dormant mode, right? I mean, you're paying for some stuff that you do not use. So we have a kind of little bit of a different model. We have something called the micro VM, and within the micro VM, we really measure what you are using at that moment. So basically we measure the CPU use of application, we measure the I/O use of your application, and the storage usage. We translate that into a unit which we call the micro VM. And based on what you are using, we then bill. Now, the interesting thing is we measure that over a 15-minute period, and we average that usage out over that 15-minute period. So which means that you have times, you always take the average. So if you use a little bit more or a little bit less, it gets averaged out over time. So you never pay for any resources that you basically do not use, and that's a pretty cost-efficient way of going about in your cloud. In your cloud environment. Now, as I said, we want to offer choice in this solution, which means that we offer this on-prem and off-prem, which means you can take it out of our Virtustream cloud as a PCF service, which means you give us a call. We'll do a little bit of onboarding, which means that we actually look at what you want to run, talk with you, do onboarding, and provision the PCF service for you. But if you have something called the pivotal ready systems, it used to be called the native hybrid cloud from EMC. which is a great way of doing that, we can actually also manage that for you. So we have a model where you can actually do on-prem and off-prem. And as I said, you can also mix it, right? Because I can understand that, for instance, dev and test, right? You might want to do on cloud. And prod you might want to do in-house because you have some compliancy regulations to do that, or maybe the other way around. I'm not sure. Again, it's all about having choice in the matter. Now, the interesting thing about our model is, so as I said, we're from a our history is really in the mission critical systems. As I said, the systems of record, ERP systems, core systems, right? I mean, general ledgers, CRM systems, all these kinds of things. And the reason why we're doing this is because our customers, right, are facing the same issues. They have these core systems, right? And they need to transform, and they need to transform into a new way of business, which means they're going to need the newer kinds of systems, which are the systems of engagements and the systems of insights. Now, the interesting thing is that as a Virtustream, we can offer all these three within the same, data center, if you want. So, for some customers, we're already managing their SAP systems, right? And we can actually take their, put in their PCF environment, right? And enable the transformation to a newer system. For other customers, right, we might start with the system engagements and then go back to take on the system of record. And the other thing, what we also actually do is we also have a platform, a service platform for what we call system of insights. So for big data systems. Now, I am convinced that all these three kinds of systems will still exist within the coming years within companies because, nobody's, I was listening to the presentation of, what was the bank, Scotia, I think it was Scotiabank, right? I mean, they're not going to redevelop everything that they have there, right? I mean, they're not going to redevelop a general ledger and they're not going to redevelop the CRM, right? What they want is they want to reuse that kind of functionality and they want to rewrap it so they can actually start using it in other kinds of applications. And that's in those system engagements, right? And almost any kind of application that you're developing now has to have something called smart capabilities, right? This means that, and if you want to have something smart, you're going to have to do something like artificial intelligence, machine learning, maybe deep learning. Now, if you want to do that, you're going to need to have either a big data environment or you're going to need to have you're going to need a big data environment or a data lake. So all these three types of systems are very relevant to the businesses and need to be there. Now, as Virtustream, we're going to deliver them, and we can actually place them side by side so that they have maximum performance. So basically, what are we trying to solve with this offering? Well, the first of all is we want to take away any operational complexity from this system. As I said, right? I mean, it's hard to set it up. It's hard to maintain. It's hard to find the knowledge for these systems, especially at this moment. And basically, it doesn't add value to your business, right? So we want to take it off your hands, and we want to make sure it works. It works for you. And we want to do that in a secure way, right? We want to make sure that you can still adhere to all the compliances that you need to have, that you have the right kind of security and the right kind of compliancy frameworks in place so you can actually do your business. We want to make sure that pricing is easy and, and that you have an insight in what you're doing, but we also want to make sure that it's efficient. And that's why we use our micro VM technology to build these systems. And we're going to give you choice, right? We want to make sure that you can choose where to run these kinds of environments. Again, without having the complexities, without having any security risk, and without paying too much, which means that we can do it multi-site, which is either hybrid or on cloud. So, wrapping up, fully managed servers, pivotal cloud Foundry, scalable, right? I mean, you don't have to worry about, do I have to buy new servers next month, right? I mean, we'll take care of that. Any of that kind of complexity will be gone. So scalable, enterprise class ES and security, and support for hybrid cloud models, and of course, superior economics. And that's basically the micro VM story. So that's basically what PCF service is about. Any questions?
Don't we have a question planted in the audience? Just to get the thing going. No?
What's the licensing model?
The licensing model, great question, John Kinkset from Pivotal. The licensing model is exactly as it would be if a customer were to buy it without any other entity involved. So you work with your Pivotal sales representative, you purchase your PCF licenses, operations manager, AIs as an example. You have a direct contract with Pivotal Software Inc. with all our terms and conditions as part of that. And you take those licenses and you deploy them on Virtustream's cloud. That's one option. There are others. Any other questions?
Are Pivotal and Virtustream part of Dell Technologies overall?
It's a great question, Trevor, from Virtustream. So you came in late, so I kicked it off with that story, and I think it's important to reiterate. So choice is obviously a big theme for us here, but ultimately, you know, the guy with his name on most of the buildings, Michael Dell, is very committed, I'll say, to a strategically aligned business strategy that means better together. So all of the companies within the Dell Technologies family, including Pivotal and Virtustream, we are actively working to support every potential business unit integration that solves to a customer problem as far as even ease of doing business is addressed and delivered in short order. And he's very serious and committed to it. And I think it's great for our customers, right? My thinking on this, if I could real quick, is Virtustream will have a very clear advantage in market and delivering PCF as a service to customers if they do one thing, if they become the easy button. That's it. So you're working with your Pivotal counterpart as an example. Customer makes a decision to go ahead and go down that path with us, and the question is asked, do you want to do this on-prem or off-prem? And in this example, they say, well, I'd like to do it off-prem. Within 24 hours, we should be able to supply them with a quote based on how many application instances they're using and deliver that to the customer very seamlessly. Like, that's how smooth it needs to be. And if we do that, I think customers are going to like the micro VM strategy. They're going to like not having to pay for capacity they're not using. Like, that's cool, right? So I think there's a lot of advantages here that we can deliver together in market. Long-winded answer, but I love microphones. All right. Any other questions? Yes?
So for the situation where I got it deployed on-prem as well as a managed service, I only have to pay for what I use in my on-prem environment.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to let you take that. So when, did you hear his question?
Yeah, I did hear the question, yeah. So basically that's about, yeah?
Repeat the question.
Oh, so I think, so the question is, so you have an off-prem solution, right? Or sorry, you have an on-prem solution, right? And you basically, can we deploy the micro VM model also on an on-prem solution, right? Yeah, that's the question. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer, no. Does anybody know the answer? Yeah?
Yeah. So you can use the cloud consumption model, which is our micro VM, for your on-prem infrastructure. So we can provide you a managed service, and we can give you the experts to go ahead and handle, you know, whatever workloads that you're doing, whatever plumbing that you're doing, et cetera, for your on-prem infrastructure. Hopefully it's EMC that you're running on-prem. And we can give you that cost model like it were in our off-prem Virtustream cloud. So no matter where it runs, on-prem, off-prem, you have that same billing cycle, so you can take advantage of these security outcomes. Does that make sense?
So Pivotal-ready systems with micro VM pricing as a managed service on-prem. That was the takeaway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We work with the on-prem, we work with the EMC, the Italian C, we work with the DFS organization.
Yeah.
We have models built to equate, to offer that same, and actually we're using our software on the client side model to enable us to build in that fashion.
Advantages, advantages, and more advantages. Any other questions from Pivotal, Virtustream, or a customer? Or a potential customer? All right, let's go sell this stuff. No.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.